In Parshas Vayechi, there's a Rashi for, let's call it Shnayim Mikra buffs. They would know this Rashi. There's not too many Rashis in Chumash like this. I'm not the guy who's proficient in every Rashi. I know some people might think so, but I'm not. When I prepare these videos, that's when I sit down to actually learn it. I learn it, prepare it. This coming week is going to be my videos. Hopefully you'll enjoy them. All questions sent to Alad. He knows all the answers. I'm not going to give out my number. I'm not looking to get questions every day. Where did you get this one? Where's the source for this thing you said? They're all there. They all exist. The sources are there. You got to know where to find them. It will take you many, many years of learning and bumping into random things to put together those sources. So in Parshas Vayechi, there's a Rashi in the bracha of Yosef. It says, "Vatesha be'esim kashta ve'yefozes re'yadam midei Rabbi Yaakov shem re'yavim Yisrael," which literally means Yosef sat back. There was an arrow that was shot out from the strength of his father. He became a leader of Klal Yisrael. So Rashi takes the Targum to task. And Rashi says that the Targum added 5 or 6 extra words into the pasuk. Very interesting Rashi where he takes every word of the pasuk. Vateshav is vasevas. Behind every word of the pasuk, Rashi tells you which word of the pasuk applies to which word of Targum. And then Rashi says, I got a problem, I got 6 extra words. So Rashi tells you, Toisvesu v'loy miloshin ivri shebamikra. It's an addition, and it's not the literal translation of the pasuk. There's very few targums like that in the whole Torah. And Rashi tells you, what are the extra words? It says, Vatevas behind the viyusa, hachalemas asher chalahem adakaim araisa b'sisra. The Targum says that the dreams that Yosef had came true because he kept the Torah in hiding. And really what Rashi is really bothered by, how does he know that? It doesn't say it anywhere in the Torah, doesn't say it in any Midrashim, doesn't say it almost anywhere, except in the Targum. Now obviously the Targum is a source. The question is, how did the Targum know it? So to understand it, I could just answer the question in 30 seconds, as I would do if I had to do this on Shnayim Yomi, but to understand it and make it applicable and understand what's going on, we'll try to explain it as follows. 2 people got into an archery competition. They both made it to the top. It's the last competition. They're both standing there. And what you got to do is you got to hit a bull about 700 yards away, and they don't tell you if he's going to move or he's not, but you got to hit him. Both guys hit the bull. One guy gets the award. The other guy says, I don't understand, I also hit the bull. The judge tells him it's very simple. That guy hit the bull. When the arrow left his arch, the bull was where it was, and he hit it perfectly. The other guy shot 50 feet to the right. The bull moved, so he got lucky. So he hit him. So of course you don't win the award. It means it's the same mashal as life. When you come down into the world, Rabbi Yerucham says that every person, the Rebbe Hashem puts into the world whatever they need through their whole life. As the Gemara says it, that before the bas kol goes out, before you're born, and says who you're going to marry, what house you're going to have. And Rabbi Yerucham says it's down to every last detail, every single thing you're going to need from the day you come into this world to the day you die. The question is just if you're on the right train tracks to get it. That's how Rabbi Yerucham said it. Meaning to say the packages are set up along the way in the whole world. If you're on the right path, you bump into all the packages, you pick them up. If you're not, you don't pick them up. So the mashal is it's an arrow. If you're shot into the world with an arrow, your arrow shoots. If your arrow is straight, it always picks up every package along the way. If it's not, it doesn't. So Targum was bothered by a big question. Where did Yosef have these dreams, these great dreams that are nevuos, chosavos, aviv shamar sadavar, Yaakov Avinu said they're going to happen. Where did he have these dreams? Sitting at home with his brothers, his father. Let's call it he's in a Yiddish environment. Everything is Jewish, everything is great. Yosef leaves, he's sold, goes down to Mitzrayim, gets into trouble with Potiphar, Eishes Potiphar, whatever you want to call it, and all different troubles that he runs into. And still the dreams come true. So the Targum was baffled by how did it happen? There's no way that just happens by itself. Obviously it must be that he was keeping the Torah in hiding. There's no other way that it could have happened. Because the dreams were only meant for a person like Yosef dreaming at home, the great dreams in the perfect environment that he was. So he must have kept the Torah in hiding. That is the simplest way to understand this Rashi. And to understand it a little, call it, if you were a speaker, you'd say deeper. If you're a lamdan, you'd say in the greater lamdas. If you're a simple guy, you'd say there must be a much more pashut shot than that. Whatever way you want to call it, or whatever adjective you want to use, the way to understand that, I think, is as follows. Somebody came once to the Chavetz Chaim. Many people came to the Chavetz Chaim, but one guy who came to the Chavetz Chaim asked him for a bracha. He said, Rebbe, I got a bad life. I need a bracha. So Chavetz Chaim told him, there's nothing I can do for you. I could just give you advice. I can tell you that people think that a Rebbe he has a box with a whole bunch of, salvations and merits and help. He opens the box, he looks inside. Oh, what did you say you need? All right, let me pick him out. Let's see if I got it. Chavetz Chaim said there's no such a box. It doesn't exist. I can't give it to you. I can't help you. There's only one thing I can do. I can put you on the right path. If you're on the right path, you get whatever you're supposed to get. So that's it I can do for you. And Chavetz Chaim said, if you learn Chumash, Mishnayos, and Gemara, you'll be on the right path. That was the bracha he gave him. That's the Litvischer way of saying it. The Chassidim say over the following story. A guy came to the Rebbe and said, Rebbe, my whole life is a disaster. Wife, a disaster. Kids, a disaster. Everything's a disaster. I can't live like this. What should I do? Rebbe, I want to die. So the Rebbe told him, before you die, you still got to accomplish a few more things. You got to go through the misery. This guy said, but I'm doing that already. The Rebbe said, no, you don't understand. Many years, till 120 you got to go through the misery. He said, Rebbe, how can I go through the misery till then? So the Rebbe said, sit down, I'll tell you a story. Like every Hasidic story goes, there's a story in a story. So the Rebbe told him the following story. He said there was a Yid, Yaakov, who lived in Warsaw, had a great dream one night that in some lost far place there's a massive, massive oitzer of money, and if only he can get there and dig it up, he'll get it. Woke up in the morning and said, wow, what a fantasy. Next night again, the same dream. This went on for weeks. Finally, after many weeks, he decided, I got to find out where that place is. I mean, come on, it's real. Dream's real. I got to go find it. It's even maybe a nevuah. He started believing it. The Gemara in Bracha says, if you have a good dream, it must be a nevuah. There's got to be something false in there. I know which part is false. Not the money part. All the other parts are false. But the money part is true. I got to go find it. Picks himself up, goes to find the address. The address is in St. Petersburg, right in front of the Palace of the King. Palace of the Tsar. Most of you probably have heard this in school when you were little. They tell you in a little different version of the story, but I'm going to tell you my version, as I can't say it the version they said. Comes there in front of the palace, and he notices that the exact address in his dream is mamash by the door where the guard to the palace is standing. There's no way. Every night he comes there and walks back and forth, trying to figure out how could he get this guard away. Let me get it. Finally, after a couple of nights, he says, you know what? I can't do it without him. I'll make a deal with the guard. I'll give him 50-50. Maybe he'll join me, like every good Jew. Then he starts thinking maybe 40-60. I'm not sure. He goes over to the guard. He tells the guard, listen, if it's over 2 million ruble, I give you only 20%. If it's less, I give you more. Goes over to the guard, and he starts telling the guard, listen, I know you're going to think I'm nuts, but I live in Warsaw. It's miles away from here. Across the whole Europe. It took me a week to get here. And I've been dreaming this dream every single night. The guard says, let me tell you something funny, sir. I have dreams also at night. My dream tells me that there's a guy in Warsaw. His name is Yaakov, and behind his oven in the wall, there's mamish an oitzer. You think I'm that nuts to get in and start walking, traveling out to Warsaw? Hey, you're nuts, you came here. The guy from Warsaw understood. It's obviously in his house. He went back home, breaks open the wall, and there's all the money sitting in his house. This is the story the Rebbe told him. So the Rebbe told him, you're asking me what you want to do for your life. I can only tell you, whatever you need is by you already. You just have to know how to find it. There's no tricks. There's no things, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I know Rabbi Kaplowitz said, if you do Shnayim Mikra, guaranteed shalom bayis, life, rich. But I listened to a few minutes. Every minute, more brachas were coming out of it. It's true. But you got to know how to take it. It doesn't just happen. You can't say, I'm going to join that program, and that's going to change me and it's going to make it happen. It's sitting by you. Rashi in the beginning of Parashat Shemos, which is this week's Parashat, so this one I can talk about because nobody did it yet. So Rashi in Shemos says, Yosef was in Mitzrayim. It's the second Rashi in the Parashat, so hopefully most of you will make it there. Yosef was in Mitzrayim. So Rashi says, what does that have to tell him? We don't know who Yosef is. We know he was in Mitzrayim. So Rashi tells you to teach you the tzidkus of Yosef. He was a great tzaddik. That should be the end of the Rashi. Comes Rashi with one more line. Hu Yosef haroyas tzayin aviv. He is Yosef that was the shepherd. And hu Yosef shai b'Mitzrayim. He's the same Yosef that was in Mitzrayim. Did Rashi teach you anything more? He just told you a second ago that same Yosef. That was his question. What I have to tell you for? Like Rashi, no, by the way, it's the same guy. Not just that, V'nas HaMelech, he became a king. V'oimed b'tzidka, and he's still standing in his righteousness, he's great. What does Rashi teach you? I think Rashi teaches the same thing we just discussed. Yosef had the dreams as a shepherd. That's where he dreamt it. Yosef became the king. Rashi is bothered by how do you become the king? You can't become the king if you're in a different environment and if you're not in the same way that you were at that point. Says Rashi, the reason why he became a king because he was still the same tzaddik as he was as a shepherd. Simple life, and now he's in this grandiose life. He's still the same person. And if you're still the same person when you're facing all the troubles that you have along the way, then you still pick up what you're supposed to get along the way. The packages are waiting for you. I got one more Rashi that says the same thing in Parshat Vayechi. This one some people hopefully did. Rashi says at the end of the brachas, Ish asher kibrachase bereishit, the Torah says. Yaakov Avinu gave each one of them the bracha that was destined for them. The Midrashim bring each one what they needed, how you see it in the brachas. Rashi says 7 words. Bracha hasida love kol echad ve'echad. He gave each one the bracha that is going to come in the future for each one. I mean, isn't that what a bracha is? You give a guy a bracha and you hope it comes in the future. What did Rashi tell you? I mean, that's what a bracha is. Rashi simply is telling you that Yaakov didn't add anything to them. He told them what they're supposed to have in their life. And he just told them, listen, this is what's destined for you. If you'll stay on the right path, you'll find all these things. He didn't tell them one word. All the brachas, if you look at them, is just describing the character trait of every one of the Shvatim. He wasn't giving them a bracha. He was telling them, you should know, Yehuda, you're going to be a king. You are a king, you're a melech, you're a leader. This is who you are. All you got to do is stay in the right path and you'll get it. And that's what he gave each one of the Shvatim. We know not just that, the first few Shvatim only got some musar from him. There's no bracha. So the question is, the Mefarshim will ask, so why are we saying that he gave everybody a bracha? He didn't give the first few a bracha. It's all the same. Those he felt are a little further off the path. They need some more musar to get back to their path. The other ones he felt are closer to their path. I'm just going to tell them what they're going to have. But all of them is the same thing. If you do what you're supposed to do, if you're Makayim the Torah, even if you do it in hiding, there's no mitzvah to get up on a pedestal and let everybody know what you're learning and how much you're learning. I once saw, they have many of these WhatsApp groups. No, not this one, different types of WhatsApp groups. Where they have guys, they have pictures of them putting on film every day. It's a very nice thing. These are people who need to affirm that they put on film every day. But what happens if you put on film and don't put out a picture? Is that good? It's good also, right? Because the film is between you and God. It's not supposed to be between anybody else. You're not supposed to be, you don't have to announce it to the public. People who need the chizuk to get to that level, great, let them take the videos. It's a great thing. It gets a whole bunch of people who wouldn't put it on to do it also. Same thing when it comes to Torah. We don't have to create WhatsApp groups with lists of who actually did the Shnayim Mikra every day. We don't need that. If you notice, we don't have that option of sending it in, confirmed I did it. Now we have the 2 checks. We have the 2 checks. If you read it, if you saw the message, but they can't really tell if you actually did it, if you read the PDF or not. But the concept is that you should do what you got to do, and there's no mitzvah to do it in public. That's what Yosef Rashi's telling you. The Targum tells you Yosef Mitzrayim, he did it to Kaim Bereishit b'Sisra. Yosef understood, to get what I deserve in life, I don't have to even do it in public. People don't even have to know that I'm a Talmid Chacham. I looked around the room, I recognized some faces. I don't remember from which store I recognized them, where they work or who they are. But I just know some of the faces I've seen somewhere before. And there's no din that they have to stand by the register in the store with the chumash. I mean, it's a great thing. It might be a beautiful thing. You might lose some money along the way because you're not paying attention to what you're doing. But the concept is that if you're doing what you're supposed to do, even b'seis, or even in hiding, you don't have to do it dafka in public. You get what you're supposed to get. And like the Rashi finishes, B'chein Yisrael Dahav Daroyu. The golden pot that's at the end of the rainbow, falls at your arrow where it's supposed to be. I'm going to end with one more little thing. The Beis Halevi, I think it's in Parshas Yisro, Mishpatim, discusses that a person who gets up in the morning, learns for a few minutes, goes out to work a whole day. At the end of the day, he comes back and he learns a little bit again. And then he goes to sleep. Why doesn't he have to make Birchas HaTorah when he comes back to learn at the end of the day of working? The Beis Halevi, the guy was Mesiach Das from learning a whole day. He was working, he was doing what he was supposed to do. Beis Halevi says clearly he wasn't saying Tehillim the whole time while he was in his store or at his job. He was working, completely focused, like you're supposed to be completely focused when you're learning. But he was completely focused while he was working a whole day. Why doesn't he have to make another Birchas HaTorah when he comes back? To make the question even bigger, they say a story of the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish was walking one Shabbos afternoon in Bnei Brak, when Bnei Brak was a little village, and Tel Aviv was not far, and he heard a massive explosion went off. Chazon Ish came back into Shul for Shabbos Mincha and asked for an aliyah. So somebody afterwards had the guts, said, Rebbe, what did you ask for an aliyah for? You never asked for an aliyah in your life. He said, when I heard the bomb go off, I was Mesiach Das from learning. I had a suffix if I have to make a new Birchas HaTorah, so I'm going to ask for an aliyah. Now that's the story of the Chazon Ish. I'm not telling anybody they have to be on that level. But that's explaining the question that if you're Mesiach Das from learning when you're working, I hope you're really Mesiach Das from learning, because the rest you're not working. So you might as well just stay and learn a whole day. But so you're supposed to be Mesiach Das, so why don't you have to make another Birchas HaTorah? So Beis Halevi says as follows. He says that Yisachar and Zvulun made a pact. One's going to work all day, and one's going to learn all day. So how does it work? Why does it work? This guy's learning all day, the other guy's working all day, but he also has to learn. So it's very nice that he supports the other guy, but he's also got to do something for himself. How does it work? So Beis Halevi says in the Psukim, Smach Zvulun b'tzeisecha v'Yisachar b'Elecha. Zvulun is very happy when he goes out, and Yisachar is in the tent learning. So the Beis Halevi, what do you mean? Why is he happy when he goes out, the other guy's learning? Listen, at least if everybody's taking a coffee break, so we also go out to work, so we should be happy. He's not learning and we're working. But if he's staying there and we're learning, why is he happy? So Beis Halevi teaches the pasuk, Smach Zvulun b'tzeisecha. Zvulun is happy when he goes out to work because Yisachar is still learning. Meaning to say, the Beis Halevi says, that if a person goes out, learns in the morning for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then he goes out to work and comes back at the end of the day to learn again, he reconnects himself to the learning that was going on a whole day. Because he was doing what he was supposed to do. He was out working, that's what he was supposed to do, the Beis Halevi says. So therefore, when he was working a whole day, he was still connected to the fact that there was learning going on in the shul. And therefore, when he comes back, he reconnects himself to the other people that are learning in the shul. So he says, Zvulun was happy when he went to work, knowing that there's somebody else in shul. Because if there's nobody else in shul, the Beis Halevi says, then maybe you'd come back, you'd have to make a Berachas HaTorah. But since you're coming back and reconnecting yourself to the other people that are learning, and other people that are involved all day in learning, therefore you're connected to that a whole day. And Beis Halevi says, therefore he says, I don't think you have to sit and say Tehillim the whole time when you work. You just have to know to go back at the end of the day to learn a little bit. How much you have to learn, I don't know. But if you do Shnayim Mikra and you split it apart, do a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night, according to Beis Halevi, the Chari Yaitza, you wouldn't have to make another Berachas HaTorah. And you could look at it as the Beis Halevi ends off, you could look at it the whole day you were learning. So I just think, for those who are worried, well, if you might have this inkling in your heart, hold on a second. Rashi's telling me I got to be Mekayim the Torah and hiding. It means really I should go to work and tell my wife I'm working and just learn the whole time, or else I'm not going to get the blessings I'm supposed to get. Relax. The Beis Halevi is telling you, no. That little bit of learning in the morning, a little bit of learning at night, you connect yourself to the learning that is going on by others that are learning a whole day. That alone, everything that's awaiting you in your life, all those, call them gold nuggets on the bottom of the rainbows, hopefully your arrow will pass through them and pick them all up. You good?